You only get one shot at each medical school interview, and that's why besides knowing how to prepare, you should know how not to do it. And in today's video we'll cover exactly that, 5 common mistakes to avoid when preparing for medicine interviews. The first mistake that unfortunately many candidates do and regret afterwards is that they leave interview preparation until they get an interview invite from a medical school. But on this channel I'll keep on stressing that it's really important to start preparing before getting interview invites as early as November, and here's why. Most medical schools send interview invites 1 to 2 weeks in advance, which, as you'll learn, is very little time to prepare to do yourself justice. Acquiring all the knowledge about medical ethics, the NHS and all the other interview topics, getting into the right mindset, gaining confidence, can all take a lot of time. And to do it all, it's far better if you could commit a couple of minutes to interview prep every day for a couple of weeks or months than if you were to cram non-stop for a week, something that's actually supported by scientific studies. So start preparing early so that you can feel confident and prepared the day you get your interview invite. Mistake number 2 is all about neglecting mock interview practice. You can treat preparing for your interviews a bit like a driving test. You won't be able to drive a car well after only passing the theory test. And similarly, while it's essential to get a good foundation of knowledge first for your interviews, practicing is equally important. And by practice I don't mean full-time mocks with a tutor. Just practice speaking your answers out loud. You can ask yourself questions and record your answers with a webcam, or ask your family members to ask you a few questions and give you feedback. There are really multiple ways to go about it. And what's best is that at medfully.co.uk you can practice using flashcards made automatically from your notes, or using the 5 video interview simulations crafted for you by our interview experts. Check out the link in the video description. And mistake number 3 is drafting your responses in continuous text. Overall, drafting your answers to the more common questions is definitely good practice, as it helps you better structure your answers and avoid forgetting the points you wanted to include. But writing down your responses in continuous text will take you an awful lot of time and won't help you to prepare well. In your interviews you have to be able to think on your feet, as it's impossible to predict every single question. Compressing your answers to bullet points instead of writing them in continuous text can help you achieve that skill. It's much easier and faster to recall short bullet points than entire paragraphs. And this connects very nicely to mistake number 4, which is memorizing your responses. Many candidates think that memorizing entire answers, especially to the most common questions like why medicine or why not nursing, will help them come across as confident and help them stand out. Well, unfortunately the admissions officers have a bit of a different opinion. It's very easy to spot when one is giving a memorized answer. They use vocabulary and grammar that doesn't suit their speaking style, they sound robotic and inauthentic, something that you want to avoid at all costs during your interview. And so even when you're practicing the same question for the 2nd, 3rd, 5th time, try to give your answer a twist. Try phrasing even the same points differently to avoid memorizing them. And last but definitely not least is forgetting to practice how you come across. The way you present yourself in your medical school interview is almost as important as the content of your answers, and is very often directly assessed by medical schools as a part of the so-called non-verbal communication. And having great non-verbal communication doesn't come naturally to most people, especially if that's going to be your first proper interview. And that's why whenever you practice for your interviews, whether it be alone or with your friend, you should think about your body language, whether you lean towards the interviewer in a welcoming position or look withdrawn with your arms crossed, if you're constantly keeping eye contact with the interviewer, if you're smiling when talking about pleasant things, if you're using hand gestures to engage with the person you're speaking to. Initially, during my interview preparation, I used to constantly look away due to stress, which meant that I looked less engaged in the conversation, I looked distracted, less confident, but at some point I realized this was taking a toll on my performance. And so during the next few mocks I just paid attention to it and simply got rid of the habit. So don't forget to work on the non-verbal aspect of your interviews. And that's about it for today's video. If you found it useful, please leave a thumbs up below and subscribe to our channel. If you're applying to medical school this year, you may want to check out our first of its kind interview preparation platform for self-paced practice, which can help you get the knowledge and confidence for your interviews. Link in the video description.